Joining me now is a Democratic member of the House Judiciary who questioned Hope Hicks and will be questioning Robert Mueller at next week's hearing, Congressman Steve Cohen. Thank you for being here, Congressman.
Nice to be with you.
I'd like to get your take. Do you believe that Hope Hicks perjured herself?
She didn't tell the whole truth, and when I asked her if she knew anything about Karen McDougal or Stormy Daniels' payments, and she said she knew nothing about them except what she read in the press, certainly appears to be false based on the documents. Now, the documents don't say that she participated in the phone calls with Cohen and Trump, Michael Cohen, that is, and Trump, but it's hard to fathom that she was left totally out. She was very close to Trump. She was one of his confidants. She was in so many of those phone calls and connected Trump to Cohen and dealt with it. She knew what was going on.
To be clear, though, Congressman, how do you prove that? Let me put up on the screen for our audience right now some of the back and forth from her testimony. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee said, "Were you ever present when Trump and Cohen discussed Stormy Daniels?" She said, "No, ma'am." She asked, "You were never present when they discussed Stormy Daniels?" "No." So there's obviously evidence that there were some phone calls that took place of which she played some part. But how can you determine what happened in those calls without that evidence?
Well, you need the evidence. You might need testimony from Michael Cohen or what they have. But I'll read you what I asked her. I said, to your knowledge, as to your knowledge of payments made to Miss Daniels and your discussions about relating those payments, I asked, did you have any knowledge of any of those payments to Miss McDougal?
I don't have any direct knowledge, she said, right?
Yeah, she had no direct knowledge. Well, but apparently she did. And now proving it, you'd have to have, I don't know if those phone calls were taped, if Cohen testified, if there's additional material. But, you know, you don't have to be Dick Tracy to know that she's at the nuancing or skating.
So
she was close to
Robert,
Trump. Trump trusted her.
Presumably Robert Mueller would have known something about this as well. So had he, wouldn't he have referred this or have indicted her for perjuring herself?
Well, she didn't make those statements until after Robert Mueller was off the case. And I think really one of the questions to be asked is, why was the case closed? Why were there no additional indictments forthcoming? We had Michael Cohen, who pled guilty, but he was indicted. We had individual one. We know individual one. Pretty sure individual one. I guess we don't know it, but we have pretty good information. Individual one was Donald J. Trump, not indicted because the legal office's opinion that a president can't be indicted while in office. There could have been additional indictments. There was somebody, people think it might have been Junior. There's certainly Hope Hicks. Why was the case closed? Why were there no further indictments? The accountant, Weisenbard or Weaselbard or whatever his name was, he was part of the deal. I think they gave him immunity. What happened to that? The case, when Barr came in, the case stopped. When Barr came in, the special counsel's case stopped.
So, sir, you make a good...
was put in.
So, sir, you make a good point here. The Trump administration has made clear that they won't prosecute Donald Trump's defenders for not adhering to congressional subpoenas. So do you think that she, Hope Hicks, would just defy a subpoena?
I think she would. I think the whole Trump team will defy it. I think they're following
Trump's orders. So where does it get
you,
I guess, is the question.
Where does it get who? Us? The government?
Yeah. Where does it get you as members of Congress trying to...
I think the only thing we can really do is impeachment. I know that we need to go forward. We need to listen to Mueller. We need to listen to McGahn. We need to see the 6E evidence that's being hidden from us in the grand jury. We need to hear from Lewandowski. We need to hear from Daniel Donaldson in a more fulsome manner. And there may be some other people we need to hear from. No question, based on emoluments, based on the information obstruction of justice that Mueller has in his report, we'll hear more about on Wednesday, based on what he said about the press and attacks on the First Amendment and attacks on the judiciary, Hispanic judges, Clinton appointed or Obama appointed judges, et cetera, that he's ripe for impeachment. Will the Senate convict? No. The House needs to take action. They need to impeach him. We need to bring that impeachment forward, and if the Senate doesn't act, I tell you, the voters will respond at the polls. Trump will claim he is vindicated no matter if he's impeached or not impeached. He will claim he's vindicated.
So to be clear, though, isn't there a political risk here for Democrats right now? I think the latest polling that we did at NBC News with the Wall Street Journal shows that 21%, just 21% of Americans believe that impeachment hearings, that this inquiry should begin, compared to 50% who say no and 27% who basically say keep doing what you're doing. So why would Americans all be on board, as you suggest, with impeachment?
Well, I'm not sure if those numbers are correct. The numbers I've seen say about 74% of Democrats favor impeachment and about 35% of independents do. I don't know, in the Republicans...
35% is still a third of independents.
That's right, but that's a pretty good amount. And I think if you go forward with impeachment and you bring out information from McGahn and others, will be more likely to get evidence from our subpoenas enforced on appearances by people and on documents to be turned over. If we get that information and it comes out that there'll be more and more people that will see what happened to our Constitution, which was shredded, that was the government's former respect for the three branches of government and the Constitution have just totally been disrespected. And I think you'll find more people for impeachment as the hearings go on. Only 19% were for impeachment when the hearing started in Watergate. And when they heard the proof, they changed their mind. There's a lot of proof. We heard a month of no collusion, no obstruction. Lies by Barr, lies by Trump. They brainwashed the public.
So on that topic, you're going to hear from Robert Mueller next week, obviously the middle of next week, assuming the timetable sticks to the way it should at this point. Your colleague, Representative Jerry Connolly of Virginia, not far from where we're sitting right now, said it would be arrogant of Robert Mueller if he didn't basically provide any new information outside of his report. He said that his report is his testimony. Do you agree with Congressman Connolly? Would it be arrogant of Robert Mueller?
I'm not going to use those words, and I don't know. You know, Robert Mueller's done a great job in all of his roles for America. I think he will respond, and if all he does is tell us about the elements.
And if he doesn't, yeah.
If he tells us the elements of obstruction of justice, if he tells us that those elements were met when Trump asked Sessions to unrecuse himself, when he asked McGahn to go ask him to unrecuse himself, when he asked McGahn to change his statement and say he didn't do it, when he asked them to write a statement up, when they asked that Mueller be fired by McGahn.
So the value is in the public airing of all those things.
Right, and if the elements were met, and I think he'll say they were met, that is obstruction, and the only reason the president wasn't obstructed is because of the Office of Legal Counsel opinion in the early 70s. The ball was put in the Congress's court for impeachment. We should impeach. There's no way. The Senate won't do it, but if the Senate doesn't do it, Susan Collins, Cory Gardner, Ms. McSally, bye. You're gone.
Congressman Steve Cohen, we appreciate you sharing your perspective with us. Thanks for your time this afternoon.
You're welcome, Peter.